Fiat Lux, however we pronounce that, Lux. What a coincidence that guy 10 years ago was writing about something that just sounds so at odds with each other, the fiat and sort of the new crypto media contingencies in the world. And so examining that project and its real push into just the new way of looking at NFTs. Again, here on the channel, please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, do this live because it's changing. It's always evolving and ever changing. And it's changing in a way that I didn't perceive. I've just been kind of seeing it, and we're picking up on a lot of narratives, and I think that a lot of influencers will run to their channels by picking up narratives that are already kind of hammered home. If you're in Discords and you're in Twitter the last couple weeks over the holiday, the Solana crew was really pushing hard, like, oh, Solana. You go into Solana, you're like, wow, these are already, these went from like 2 SOL and now they're at 13 SOL. Well, there's only like 800 of them. So when you're pushing and driving all this traffic there, you're going to see a price appreciation that is going to get some attention. And I think that when you're seeing those things, it's just like it feels like you've already missed the boat. ZK rollups. By the time this is the great thing. This is what I do. Elio, teaches people how to look at the market. If I hear from a project from Elio first, I know I've missed the boat. Like, it's just like what he brings in terms of like a recognition to a project is outstanding, and it's a tsunami of attention. And for ZK rollups, it was just like, he brought all this attention, and then everyone kind of followed in, and it spiked really hard. And but there's so many great technologies out there that are still yet to be proven, and it's a great space to dabble in. And so that's why here on the channel we look for utility and value within other areas, all areas, in terms of art quality. And I think we step into some AI stuff, very early on, but I don't think it's quite there yet. But the new narrative I think that could take hold is AR, and it's part of a long gestating technology and a group of people, and people I'm familiar with who have been working in this space for a long time are now beginning to bring this technology and bring this experience to NFTs. And it's just like two pieces of a puzzle fitting quite well. And so a few weeks ago, I think we all saw this, that, Jadu raises $7 million to make hoverboards for the Metaverse. And, Jadu had done jetpacks that did phenomenally well. I will say that they only, had 800, like it was about, the series was about 1,000. And it's really held at, 3-4 ETH, and is steadily rising with this new narrative that I think is generating here for AR. And I think the Jadu, like, I was just like, oh, okay, like they're doing boards now. That's interesting. But then, in my head, I'm like, oh, for what, Metaverse? And did they did have the thing with the Sandbox, an agreement with the Sandbox. And so I just kind of briefly sort of like was like, skated over it, if you will, pardon the pun. Horrible one, but welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell notification if you love puns in the Metaverse. And if you don't, that's cool too, because maybe I'm more in that camp. So they have hoverboards. Fantastic. Honestly, from sort of a World of Warcraft sort of upbringing, it's just like anything I can mount and ride, I prefer. Especially the jetpacks was kind of I really was thinking about pulling the trigger on a jetpack a while ago, because I'm just like, wow, I can not run and not have to walk everywhere in the Metaverse. I actually kind of thought it was a conflict with the Metaverse, because how can you design a game in the Metaverse, like in Sandbox, and then suddenly you have a person with a jetpack come through and sort of subvert your design? So anywho, they release and they talk about these boards, and then I noticed on the Fiat Lux had these cool hoverboards that I think they're fairly common. It's probably about 8% of of all Fiat Luxes have a hoverboard. In the AMA, somebody mentioned, "Can you ride them?" And I think it freaked out the artist a little bit because it was just like, "Oh no, this is sort of an ornamental thing that I created and it's dope. It says fight and then over here it says back." And so, but I think it was almost overly valued because of how cool it looked in terms of like a floor for this particular trait. And so, I took notice. I was like, "Oh yeah, hoverboards are super cool." And as a young skater, I think that you gravitate towards such things. The sweet decks and decks are palettes for art that we can understand and appreciate, and certainly can collect at the finest museums. Some of the best pop artists have skateboard deck collections, and they can be quite compelling. So I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. And so I kind of went back to Jodu, and I was like, well, okay, so they've got that. It's not at a crazy floor price yet because they have 6,700,000 items, and it's not a lot of utility yet. I think an understandable utility because Sandbox is not even really open. How are you gonna get hold of these? And I thought, well, I should recommend this as a very interesting time to acquire a hoverboard. That's just step one. What I think really surprised me was, I'm like, who bought a 3.2? Now I just want to shop with you guys. Come with me. But unfortunately, OpenSeas is a little buggy as it's been all week. And guys, like I said, it's not a bull market without OpenSeas hiccuping and convulsing like this to a large degree. Now it's just got one of these just sweet, sick patterns into them. And so the Lewis Hamilton. So it was interesting to see in Jadio. And so I was like, yeah, I remember Jadio was okay. They were gonna go, but there was something about in that article that I really skipped over, and it was called the Mirrorverse. And I was like, well, who doesn't want their own metaverse at this point? I think everybody's like trying to, here's a map of the globe, and I've shared some that just as examples of how aggressive people are getting with this idea of NFT real estate, because I think that people understand real estate, understand the value and how hot real estate is, and like it's running out within my city. Well, why not get some in the metaverse? And that's super compelling as a narrative right now. And so I thought, like, well, Metaverse, Mirrorverse, sure, give me a place to write around the board. But then I started looking more into Mirrorverse and their interpretation of it, and you can see sort of the investors of this guy, Siri, super amazing. He's just kind of an icon in himself now, but as a manager of great properties, great people. Ashton Kutcher's ventures, Time president Keith Grossman, who's actually very savvy, like Keith. Like Time has been very savvy within the crypto space. They're using their name and their old school heritage to take advantage. Early on, in Nick Adler's leveraging Snoop Dogg's name as his manager. And so, this is a team that's been working for 6 years. Again, much like Fiat Lux, had a team that had been working for a long time in groundbreaking, innovative AR. And so now we can create this incredible AR experience, but with Web 3.0 incentive systems. And that, for them, is the final piece. And that makes it sustainable in a sense. And so as a world that can build and grow. And so the community is formed around the jetpacks, that they've expanded now to hoverboards. Incredible way to develop AR as a true creative medium beyond the social media filters. And I like that they can, you can use these on a lot of different projects. They still have to kind of clear them because it seems like there is some technical aspects to work out of the 3D modeling potential, mapping and functionality. But the Kongs and tip of the hat to the Fluffs, because Fluff World is really, for me, starting to just creep right into that blue chip territory, because they've been smartly partnering with a lot of people and expanding the utility, and certainly have gotten, they're one of the first that incorporated the music and the movement into an NFT. And I think that it really is going to be the way that it's expanding. You can point a lot back to, I think, down the line to this project, Fluffs. And so Fluff World, tip that to you, because getting it done for those holders. And this is, I always push creators. I'm like, you got to think about like the people that are holding on to your thing. They've spent thousands of dollars, many hard fought ETH for your project. So please take care of them by giving them utility value. And so when you have this type of collaboration, well, you're bringing a lot of other worlds into your world, a lot of other, sort of microverses. And I think, that's part of my own thesis of the metaverse is it's all a bunch of microverses, and it's going to combine into some, place. And you're like, well, is it the sandbox? Because, it's limited. Is it going to be, any other one really? I think, this being developed now, the Galaverse, I don't, it's tough for me to see, but I see the great work that each team is doing, and bringing brands and bringing partnerships to the spaces. But then it sort of struck me. I'm like, well, Mirrorverse, I think, if I can find something for you, I think they mean AR, meaning the world. And so this isn't a specific digital destination. It's the destination you're at, and you can bring the NFTs to your verse. And so the Mirrorverse ostensibly is just a reflection of the real world with your NFTs in it. That to me has is so much more compelling to some degree. It depends on, I think the types of things that we can build out, but I think we can also experience movement and space without the goggles, without, these things, because for me, and I think one of the biggest problems or challenges with VR currently is that sort of right now it's about 20 minutes before you get physically sick in this space. And so you have to build up a tolerance. It's like drinking in college. You have to build up a tolerance with VR. And so you have to wear it, more and more progressively to then, experience that sort of thing. And it's very nice all around you. Kind of being, maybe it's unsafe, what have you, but I think that it's the compelling idea of a Mirrorverse, something that's already here that we can bring, and much like what we have here with these NFTs, is you have the ability to bring any of them into this Mirrorverse. And I think that as we're seeing with some of these small 8-bit games where you can bring in some of your 8-bit characters to just kind of run around, and they're trying to create areas that you can just like have fun and gathering areas so they can draw these brands and draw these people, draw us crazy people, us collectors, us creators, us who ostensibly pay way too much money for these items speculatively, because that's a profile. We're being profiled. And but I think what you have with the Mirrorverse is a very compelling version of the metaverse built upon AR, which again has a real strong backlog of the past 7-8 years of I think ever since Pokemon Go, you really had a lot of people working to try and improve that space and to create live events IRL so that you could join in together and have community events. Shout out to my friends who actually did that event for Pokemon Go. And so, by observing that team and advising that team, actually, it seemed that, that there's a strong market for that. And there's a strong, compelling IRL community building thing about it. It's, I think a meetup in the metaverse is nice. It's very tough to sort of to really see everybody. It's nice when you point out and can figure out one or two people, but for the most part it's just very bland experiences with each other because of just lack of tactileness and all the other things that makes it IRL to metaverse. And so Mirrorverse, I don't know, there's so many possibilities. It sparks the imagination. But a very quick video today. I just wanted to sort of share with you guys what I think could be. And look into it more. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and put down in the comment section what other AR projects you're seeing out there, because I think it could be very, very interesting as a narrative within this space, because of its possibilities for community. It's so much more tactile. And again, having advised on the Pokemon Go live events, there's a lot of people who want to do stuff like that, who want to come together and then floss. And why not have a hoverboard while you're doing it, right? All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.